This is the quickest way to clear out.
Hey guys, Mel K here. I just wanted to let you know that we are partnered with the amazing Satellite Phone Store. What do they have? It's really what don't they have when it comes to peace of mind and taking care of your family and being prepared for anything that comes ahead. First and foremost, you must have a satellite phone. It is a total game changer no matter what happens. If the power goes out or there's a hurricane or cell service is interrupted, your satellite phone will work no matter what, everywhere on planet Earth. If you are a hiker, if you are a boater, every single person in America should have a satellite phone. Also, I want everyone to know Satellite Phone Store is now selling Starlink with 24/7 customer service. So if you have not changed to Starlink yet, now is your time. Also, don't forget, it's always important to have backup batteries, backup power sources, and of course, we have our own generator. You can get one large or small, fits right in your closet, or you can get one for your whole house or for your business. Satellite Phone Store has everything you need. If you want to protect yourself and your family, if you want to be prepared no matter what comes, the Satellite Phone Store is your one-stop shop. Go to the MelKShow.com partners page, click on Satellite Phone Store now, tell them Mel K sent you, be prepared, be ready, protect yourself, protect your family, and make sure communication for you is always secure.
I know they had no media there, which was the family's wish.
Correct.
But the president was there, and the defense secretary was there, and I heard you say you were all the families were in
separate. Their own separate
area.
And there were also a myriad of generals, lieutenant colonels, high-ranking officials, senators, congressmen. I can't remember all their names.
So when the president and the defense secretary came up to you, what did you talk about?
I was the first person, right out the bat, looked President Trump in the eye and told him who I was. He said, "Yes, Mr. Simmons, I know who you are." I said, "Tyler Simmons was my only son. He paid the ultimate price." And much to my pleasant surprise, I saw emotion in the president's face. Because usually when you see him on television, he's just being the stern leader. I get that. But his humanity showed in that moment. He said, "I can respect a man that can look the president in the face and tell him exactly what he thinks." I think it's one of the few times that he had to look up. Because actually, President Trump is taller than I thought. He just expressed his condolences and thankful for Tyler's service. Because that's all I wanted the focus to be, was Tyler. And the premise of all them coming was for them to give their condolences to the family.
Well, what a refreshing thing once in a while, hearing a story about Donald Trump that is actually real and positive from a father of a fallen soldier who Donald Trump met at the I guess it's at the Air Force Base when his son's body was brought back. And I really like when people meet Trump and they realize how fake the media has been, and Trump derangement syndrome has been a true psychological operation on masses of people. And at this point, welcome back. It's Monday. It's going to be a great week.
We had a great Q&A last night. Kathy O'Brien staying with us for a few days, and we had so much fun. I hope everyone out there enjoyed it.
some great stuff from the past that kind of connects the dots to where we are. And we are grateful that you're here joining Mornings with Mel K.
By the way, that show is on Rumble, just so everyone knows. Some people were asking in the chat.
Well, the Q&A is on Rumble X. We're going to add it to our Substack. We have a one that needs to kind of be fixed up on the melkshow.com, where you can also support us. Anyway, we had the great Kathy O'Brien staying with us, and we had a lot to talk about last night, so do check that out. In the meantime, I wanted to comment on Trump derangement syndrome, because that video really touched me, because I felt that father, for the first time, realized how deceived he's been about Trump. And frankly, many people have. And I caught this on Friday from Greg Gutfeld. And a lot of people have to realize we're going into the phase, I believe, of accountability. And I know everyone's been waiting for it and hoping for it and all of that with the death of Robert Mueller. And we'll get into him quite a bit, not just today, but going forward in many ways. We have a opportunity, a chance to hold some people that are very bad people within the government that have never been held accountable. Unfortunately, Robert Mueller was a fixture in the cover-up schemes of the FBI and protecting the institution over being honest and justice for the people. And frankly, many, many innocent victims out there have been victims of the very corrupt Mueller, Comey, Wray, FBI. But frankly, it's been kind of a disaster from the beginning and turned on the people from the very start. And I just want to play this clip before I start from Gutfeld, just to start off this week with a little common sense and a little thinking about where we are and what we are dealing with, as it is not left and right, Republican and Democrat at all. It is a totally dysfunctional government apparatus that after World War II was essentially abandoned. All idea that this was a country by the people, for the people, that we the people had a say about anything. And I believe that's being dismantled, and the people that created that supranational infrastructure are fighting very hard to create the illusion that Donald Trump is some kind of authoritarian or, all of that. But let's listen to a little common sense from Greg Gutfeld before we jump into the news. Here you go.
The Dems are talking about revenge. For what? Was it for closing the border? We're getting rid of the fentanyl from our cities? Putting away killers and rapists, exposing waste, fraud, and abuse, destroying a foreign threat to our country, exposing the lie of trans athletes. If you're seeking revenge for that, what's it say about you? If you're being honest, you only want revenge because you lost. And in that loss, people saw what they gained in having a new leader. If you look within our borders and beyond our borders, what Trump is doing now, and you have to admit this, is downstream from your own dereliction of your party. What brought us here? The Democrats embraced the luxury beliefs that selfishly elevated their own virtue, sanctuary cities, trans, identity politics primarily. Did nothing for the real problems of the world, did nothing about our foreign policy issues, did nothing about getting food on the table, did nothing about education. Americans figured that out, but so did the world. They were watching. I think the shock over Trump is his return to reality. We're back making moves in the practical world, and it has nothing to do with a singular person type identity. This is disorienting to people whose careers were based on the split world of identity politics, who have no idea what a national identity is, who have no idea what the melting pot is, have no idea what assimilation is. That's all he is doing, and it drives them crazy because they forgot that language. They can't speak that language anymore.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. And how you doing this morning, Rob? I even got a little discombobulated figuring out where to start today because so much is happening. As you know, James Comey was subpoenaed to the grand jury for grand conspiracy. There are two of them going on in Florida, one with the egregious and illegal search of Donald Trump's home for all that was all set up. Of course, Trump declassified documents. The minute that the auto pen took over the White House, they reclassified them and then sent them to Trump. I mean, the setup is so obvious, but James Comey was called in. A lot of the usual suspects are freaking out. And of course, Robert Mueller died. We'll get into that. But Rob, I did not stop in and ask you how you were doing today.
Well, thank you, Mel. I am excited for a Monday because we had a wonderful, as I said, time with Kathy, and she's going to hang with us another day or so. So that's exciting. The spring has sprung, so I'm excited about where we are here today.
Yeah, and I wanted to, we've been talking quite a bit here about checking out Rumble Wallet, and I wanted to tell you this weekend in Zero Hedge, there was an interesting article from Cointelegraph about the World Gold Council and Boston Consulting proposing a new platform, which essentially is digital currency backed by gold. Gold as a service, a platform to support the issuance and operation of scalable, interoperable digital gold products. Now, we've been telling you about this for a long time, but people are looking for options. And frankly, the two leaders in that at this point are Tether Gold and Pax Gold. What the World Gold Council said about it was by standardizing essential market processes such as custody, coordination, reconciliation, compliance, and redemption, the model aims to reduce operational complexity, improve access, and enable greater consistency across digital gold products. So basically, this is a new chance to look into Rumble Wallet. So we wanted to say again, we are so grateful to Rumble. When I was banned for life, as I still am, from YouTube, Rumble was there for us, and they let me go, and they didn't censor me, and I continued to do my thing for another year and a half, and here we are, still surviving. So just like Rumble helped creators like me, they are also helping people that have either been debanked, like us, kicked off of PayPal or Venmo during the COVID, whatever we saw happen with the truckers. All of this is possible. They debanked the entire Trump family. So let's remember, they can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, support. Big banks and financial institutions work for themselves. They do not work for us. They never have, and they never will. That's why financial independence matters, and that's why Rumble is introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built on real freedom. And it looks like the way that the gold market's speaking, this is a big forward motion towards not just Tether and Tether Gold and Bitcoin and all of that being the future, but Rumble is offering you a place to do that all in one place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And you can also get Rumble Wallet and tip your favorite creators like me and Rob. So this is not a credit line. Don't think about that. This is not the old way of doing business. It's a new way to give you financial freedom and independence. So protect yourself, protect your family, protect your future. When the system fails and the institutions turn on us, we have to have people we can count on. And I've been able to count on Rumble, and Rumble Wallet is another way they are coming through for individual liberty, financial sovereignty, and you making sure that you are protecting yourself, your family, and your freedom. So download Rumble Wallet now, or click on the QR code on the screen, or go to wallet.rumble.com and just look around. Rob and I are finding it very interesting. We're learning a lot. It's true ownership, true protection, and true financial freedom. Rumble Wallet. Check it out.
I think it'll be interesting as they digitize, if you will. If you have crypto or other assets backed by gold, I think that's really interesting. The more people that get exposed to, what's going on in the precious metals market, that's going to be a good thing in general for gold and silver. And so I like the fact that we have some crypto backed by gold.
Right. And I know a lot of people are looking at the gold and silver, what is going on there. It is being manipulated. B, there are many very brilliant people that I follow out there that talk about this. And frankly, what they're talking about is that right now gold is on a fire sale, and people are wondering, well, is it a panic? Is it an opportunity? I would say hold strong where you are. As Clay says, buy gold and hold. The main thing is that there is a major shift going on in gold's fundamentals. It's not a collapse in demand. It's not a policy shock. It's a liquidity event. And frankly, they are talking about that it's not a structural failure. It is a reorganization organization of how not just gold, but money in general works on a global scale. It's a very big thing, but I want you to know central banks continue to accumulate the largest amount of gold as they have in decades, if ever. Major players, particularly hedge funds and other groups, are increasing their exposure, not exiting gold. The signals continue to be on gold's role as the supreme backstop for everything. So the macro backdrop here is gold. Global debt continues to rise. Currency debasement persists. Geopolitical tensions remain elevated. These conditions are historically supportive of gold. And the perception that gold is crashing, according to many people out there, is exactly what they want you to think. According to many people, this is not a time to panic. This is actually a time to buy. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Excellent articles out there. As I said, this is a time, if you didn't get into gold and silver, to get in now and realize that everything is changing, and it looks like the global currency will be backed by gold. Whether it's digital or whatever else, we do know that the idea that gold is over is a fraud, and it is meant to make you panic and sell or not buy. So just keep that in mind, that the volatility and everything else, this isn't a bottom. In fact, a lot of people believe this is an opportunity zone. So if you want to get more information, you know I love Andrew and I trust him very much. You can go to melkgold.com and talk to somebody over at Andrew's place that is a real store. I know the store. I've been there in West Hollywood, and I will tell you, in Beverly Hills. And I would tell you something else. These are real people that have been in the business for 30 years. There's no call center, none of that. They're actually our friends, and we buy from them, and we're very happy about that. And it's a long-term relationship that we've made with them, and we hope you can too. So go to melkgold.com or to our partners page and click on Beverly Hills Precious Metals and get started today. Now back to the insanity going on with the SAVE Act. Let's take a listen. God bless Mike Lee. We have about 10 people, in my opinion, that are still working for the people of the United States in D.C. I think they're all very clear to us as they continue to stand up and talk common sense in a totally insane cesspool known as the District of Columbia. So let's take a listen to the great Mike Lee. I mean, he spent hours debating, and this is what they're supposed to do, and he makes a lot of sense. So let's listen to what Mike Lee had to say about the lunacy in not passing the SAVE Act.
Both from the senior senator from Rhode Island and from the junior senator from Rhode Island, among others, over the last few days. We're being told this would bring about a massive campaign of voter disenfranchisement. Let's remember what disenfranchisement means. In this context, it means you're taking people who can vote today and making it so that they can't vote tomorrow. This is an argument conceived and held by the devil himself because it's just utterly false. There is not a scintilla of truth to this. You could try to breathe life into it by adding inference upon inference, taking different statements out of context. You would still be lying if you were making this argument because there's nothing about it that it disenfranchises anyone. If anything, Madam President, what this would do is this would prevent the disenfranchisement of actual U.S. citizens by those who are not citizens of our country, by those who, whether through mistake or more likely fraud, may register to vote, notwithstanding the fact that they're not eligible to do this. The modern left has become obsessed with what they consider victimless crimes. We hear about this from the modern left all the time, and we've heard about that in this very chamber this very day. They approach non-citizen voting as if it were such a minor thing. Not only
I mean, it's crazy, and that's the truth. It's a major thing. I also want you to know many things have gone on that you are not hearing about because there is no reliable, honest news source, at least not on the old school airwaves. I would like you to know how far the Democrats have fallen. 145 Democrats voted this past week against mandating deportation for illegal aliens who commit sex crimes. 160 Democrats voted against mandating deportation for illegal aliens who are convicted of DUIs. 186 Democrats voted against mandating deportation for illegal aliens who commit welfare fraud. 190 Democrats voted against mandating deportations for illegal aliens who harm police animals. Democrats have literally voted almost in lockstep for all of this. That is because the Democratic Party is not being run by anything close to what we knew as Democrats. If you do not understand that the Democrat Socialists of America, which is the entire squad, the Democrat Socialists of America are a globally funded Marxist revolutionary group looking to overthrow in constant revolution all basically democratic nations on planet Earth. And number one to take down is, of course, America. Well, the Democratic Socialists of America should be banned, of course, through the Smith Act of running for office in America at all. Look at their platform. They're revolutionary Marxists, totally anti-America, anti-freedom, anti-liberty. They want totalitarian control in their own hands and communism. Marxism, whatever you want to call it. Look at what's going on in New York City, for God's sakes. But the problem is that not only is the Democratic Party being run by the Democrat Socialists of America, but they have teamed up with the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE. So right now, in these midterms, if the Democrats win, the Democrat Socialists of America, Marxist revolutionaries, and the totalitarian Sharia-backed Islam caucus will actually be running our country. Okay? This has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. It has to do with who is running the Republican Party. And as you know, they want to get rid of Schumer and put in a Democrat Socialist of America. They want to get rid of a lot of people around the country. And the Democrat Socialists of America are working in tandem with CARE and with the Palestinian groups that are going around all of the college campuses and recruiting people to support Hamas and Islam and all of that as if it's not a problem. So what you have to understand is when you hear Democrats, it's not Democrats, okay? And it gets even crazier than that. You know what? I will let a Democrat tell you exactly what is going on with the Democrats before we go further, because you have to understand your friends and family, particularly people that are longtime Democrats and don't pay attention to politics and vote all D's, will be voting in Marxist communist revolutionaries born out of the entire communist caucus that has been lying low over there on the left since Bernie gave up two possible runs for president for God knows what they offered him. But the Bernie bros are no more. They are now the Democrat Socialists of America, and CARE, Muslim Brotherhood, have totally taken over the Democratic Party. But take a listen to John Fetterman. No longer knows what is going on with his party. And what's so crazy is how we all talked about Fetterman to begin with, but now he's like the sane voice on that side. If you want to talk about Democrats, take a listen to John Fetterman on All In this weekend.
Leads the Democratic Party today?
Oh, we don't have one. I think the TDS. I think that's the leader right now. You know, right now our party is governed by the TDS, and now it's made it virtually impossible without being punished as a Democrat to agree something's good, or I agree with the other side. And I would define that by epic fury. I am literally the only Democrat in America in Congress that I've come across that's saying, I think it's a great thing to break and destroy the Iranian regime. I think it's entirely appropriate to hold them accountable. And what's strange to me that every single Democrat that's run for president and anyone that I know in Congress says we must never allow them to acquire a nuclear bomb. When that happens, why not celebrate that or acknowledge that? I have only witnessed just criticism and this kinds of attack. Like, yeah, you don't have to agree on every single thing, but when a good thing happens, just because it comes from the different party, that tells me that you're choosing the demand of the base or the party over country or what's really, I think, appropriate in that circumstances.
And when reason comes from him, you have to know he might be the only person on the entire Democratic side right now that votes by his conscience and for the people what he thinks is right.
He has gone through quite a transition, huh? I mean, remember, what happened to him and how awful that was, and he just was checked out, and now he seems to be totally lucid.
Seems to be a lot saner than anyone else on that side, but I do want to also...
Hey, Mel, before you jump around, not jump around, but jump going forward, I wanted to thank Flying Storm for a very generous Rumble rant. Flying Storm, I believe, is a pilot, says I try spreading the show as I go across America in Salt Lake City now.
Thank you.
Good morning, walking encyclopedia. Thank you, Flying Storm. We really do appreciate the Rumble rant. Anything you can do to help support the show is critical because we only exist here by the good graces of you folks. So thank you.
Yep. So here we found out. So after all the debating this weekend, the Democrat Socialists of America tripled down and made a request that has gone beyond what we thought would come out of their mouths. So it's a little crazy, but take a listen because now the Democrats are suggesting that we ban voter ID altogether in every state, in general, everywhere. Take a listen.
So the photo ID amendment will be the next amendment. And I think all these things in the Save America Act, as we've all said, are common sense. We think they're supported by overwhelming majority of Americans. And in many cases, as Senator Husted also pointed out, you had 36 states that have adopted photo ID laws. Why wouldn't we have a nationwide one? And to hear the Democrats, hear the leader of the Democrats say in response to a question, we're not opposed to photo ID, but then to block even getting it up and considering it, and furthermore, to offer an alternative that bans and prohibits specifically photo ID, I think speaks to where they are. So,
I mean, these people are totally insane. They're not Democrats. It's just not true. They are revolutionary communist Marxists. The march through our institutions happened long ago, folks. The Frankfurt School, the leader of the Frankfurt School, I believe, just died. But it's no joke what's going on. These are Marxist, revolutionary, Saul Alinsky communists that took over the Democratic Party under the guise of Democrat Socialist of America. And now they want no ID at all to be shown in any election anywhere. That's the new thing. Now, I want you to know the great Savannah, I always remember, Sav says, Savannah Hernandez, right, I'm sorry, I'm blanking, and James O'Keefe have been breaking something that should make you pretty disturbed, what is going on in California. So in California, it appears that they have caught undercover NGOs that are going around and signing up the exploding homeless population. As I wrote a Substack over the weekend, California, since I believe 2007, has spent $900 billion in programs for the homeless, for the mentally ill, and for poverty. And meanwhile, it's exploded 4 times since then. So none of the programs work at all. But now we find out the Weingart Center, which has gotten hundreds of millions of dollars from Gavin Newsom, is registering the homeless on the streets of California to vote. The NGO is providing homeless people with an address on the form when registering to vote. It's not an address for the homeless person registering. It's an address that they are giving them. So Gavin Newsom essentially is allowing these homeless people to be registered and paying for it with taxpayer money. Take a look at James O'Keefe and Savannah exposing this, and many other people are exposing what's going on in California. The fraud in California is expected to be about, in the $100 billion a year taxpayer fraud going on in California, mainly through NGOs and programs and bureaucracy. But take a look at this.
Now we're gonna give you $2. We just need 14 signatures. The petitioner, Brenda Brown, hands cash money to the homeless person, not only for signing the California ballot initiative, but also as payment for them to register to vote.
Now, because you haven't registered, I need to register you so I can get paid too. I'm paying you guys, I need to get paid. Come on.
That is a federal felony. And it didn't just happen once, it happened over and over and over again. We personally witnessed and covertly filmed this happening at least 28 times over the span of our investigation, and that is just in Los Angeles. Many of the homeless have zero understanding of what it is that they're actually signing.
But what is that petition for? You know the petition for? I do not know what to say.
The petitioners instruct the homeless to enter made-up addresses like Pinocchio Lane.
What do I put as my address?
Yeah, just put you live on Pinocchio Lane.
Oh, you can just take it out.
Oh, good.
And all of this occurring just outside the front doors of shelters and NGOs such as Weingart Center, which have received hundreds of millions of dollars in government money. One Weingart employee tells us when and where to find the illegal cash exchanges for signatures outside, and says the cash being given out is coming from a higher source.
Do you know if they provide the money that they're handing out?
Yeah,
the company
that's what they do. When they give the money out, they got to go back and tally up if they stealing the money or not, so they got to have signatures. Most of them be right across the street under that tree. You can check with them Monday through Friday.
While another Weingart employee advises the homeless on how to practice plausible deniability and ignorance of the law.
See, they say ignorance is no excuse for the law. But a lot of times I have to say I didn't know. I had no idea.
Oh, that would be what he should say.
He should say.
Yeah. The petitioners orchestrate an elaborate pyramid scheme of unregistered petition circulators.
If I were to hire you, you would be under me. Yes. I'm under my son. I'm
Oh
under
my
him,
God.
and you under me. So it's like a pyramid game. And really, I don't need you. You need me. I don't need you.
One of the petitioners.
Okay, so why? Thoughts, Rob, please?
Well, this is an institutionalized voter roll fraud and ballot harvesting. It's a ballot harvesting fraud, right? And as he showed there, it is illegal. And this is the problem that we're living in now: is that the lawlessness is.
They've inverted law and order
Yeah,
and
it's
made
extraordinary.
criminality legal, mental illness acceptable without treatment, treated like mentally ill people are healthy. I mean, everything's upside down. The lawfare has redefined. As I talked, if you did not see my great show with Jeff Clark, we talked a lot about the infiltration into law schools of critical legal theory back in the 70s that is pumping out at this point automatons that know nothing about the law, and we'll get into that in a minute. But did you know that there are many illegals apparently working for the U.S. Postal Service, and much of the fraud is ballot fraud, okay? This is the biggest thing people don't understand is the ballots. So when the Chinese licenses, 2 million fake licenses were found, those were to register voters for ballots. The AME Church Syndicate that ran the ballot harvesting in Georgia and elsewhere that Clyburn was behind, also, that's about ballots. It's about as many ballots as possible and then adjudicating those ballots, meaning you put them in the machine, they don't work, then they're manually adjudicated. But did you know that there are many people, it appears, working for the U.S. Postal Service that is in charge of the mass mail-in ballots, and we are one of 2 nations that even allow such a thing, that there are the Postal Service, as we learned in 2016 and 2020, has been complicit in not only throwing out ballots and all of that, but now we find out that there are many illegals working there. Let's take a listen to Brandon Gill asking the U.S. Postal Service head at the moment, who apparently is going to go fully broke after $11 billion was given to them not too long ago. The U.S. Postal Service is about to go, it says that they will be bankrupt within 12 months. Take a listen to this question about illegal alien mail carriers.
How many of the drivers who haul mail for USPS are using non-domiciled CDLs?
To my knowledge, at this point, none.
Do you know if it's a lot or just a few?
None.
So from what I'm hearing from mail processing centers, there's been quite a few. In fact, I've heard from several large ones who have said something to the extent about half of the drivers who are coming to pick up mail appear to be non-domiciled, that they typically don't even speak English. I've heard that over half of them don't speak English. There's been suggestions that many of them are perhaps illegal aliens. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not sure where that information comes from, but
it's coming from major mail processing facilities.
That probably wouldn't surprise me, but my guess is that...
Sorry, it wouldn't surprise you that there's a lot of drivers who are non-domiciled?
No, it wouldn't surprise me that that's where the information's coming from, because if you look at the information from our United States Postal Inspection Service, which everybody that hauls for us has to go through a check with them, I think they've probably got better information.
And what is that information?
That every driver that drives for us, whether they're an employee or whether they're part of a third-party contractor, has to go through and make sure that they are a domiciled CDL holder.
Is that being enforced? Because I've been told by multiple different parties that that rule is not, in fact, being enforced in any meaningful way.
I've been told by our Postal Service that it is.
Okay. Well, I've got this is from a whistleblower, postal whistleblower. Here are multiple non-domiciled licenses from 1 hour of check-ins at one USPS facility. This was from March of 2026 that's been recorded.
Yeah, if you'd send that on to us, I'll have our Postal Inspection Service look at that and find out what happened.
We've also got recording from Pete Rosalius, who's the VP of Transportation Strategy at USPS, who has said, quote, we didn't understand the magnitude of how many people are using non-domiciled CDLs, suggesting that attempted to stop this practice, but realized that there are too many drivers who are using these non-domiciled CDLs, so it wasn't, I guess, practicable to enforce that particular ruling. Are you familiar with that at all?
Not familiar at all, no.
So it's your testimony that there are no CDL or no mail carriers, who are non-domiciled CDL drivers?
No, my testimony is that I'm not aware of the conversation that you're referencing.
Okay, so this is a guy who got, I believe they had $11 billion budget, and now is saying in less than 12 months they'll be broke at the U.S. Postal Service, and he seems to know nothing. I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Well,
unaccountable bureaucrats that just...
The postal system, as we know, we went through both the election, the COVID, and a lot of other things. Remember this censoring and silencing. The postal system has been weaponized.
Totally.
Remember they had hired all these like social media,
Yeah, and they
detectives, if they will.
Spying on it. They were using the Postal Service to spy on American citizens. And we know that during the 2020 election, there were boxes and boxes of ballots found on the side of the road and all over the country, and that was real. There was also a whistleblower who said that they picked up a whole bunch of boxes and ballots and drove them cross-state into Pennsylvania from, I believe, New York. And there was all over the country people saying that they were getting 5, 10 ballots sent to them in the mail to vote. Of course. Let's take a listen to.
So I also want to say, basically this also speaks to the commercial driver's license, CDL commercial driver's license issue that we're having in the trucking industry.
The same.
I wonder if Flying Storm can comment in the chat, but yeah, it's a big problem because that creates a really dangerous situation on the road.
Dorcas, DHS, all of them, they set up to fast track people that were coming in illegally to get jobs, licenses, and a lot of those jobs were government jobs. We saw it in New York. You didn't have to be a citizen to work for the city of New York during the influx of everyone. So they were putting people, and don't forget, that's on top of the DEI hiring changes that hired the lowest qualified people for massive amounts of jobs, regardless of their backgrounds or their education. It was all about race and LGBTQ for 4 years. So on top of that, we also had all of these illegals being funneled into things. And when they're talking about third-party contractors, and he's saying, I don't know, maybe third-party contractors. Well, that's who's doing the hiring for the Postal Service, and that's who the NGOs had deals with to get jobs for the 11 million, at least, illegals who came in. So a lot of those illegals were going into being...
it's also rideshare, right?
Share, but also postal carriers,
truckers,
Uber and Lyft, truckers, we know. But this was on purpose. This was on purpose happening, and the head of the U.S. Postal Service, who has no explanation for how they could possibly be going broke after billions of dollars were given to them by the Biden administration, has no idea this happened. But take a listen. Stephen Miller isn't messing around. We need the SAVE Act. We also need to make sure that nobody that doesn't speak English is on our roads as commercial drivers of any kind, let alone getting licenses. This whole idea that you can give out licenses to people that can't read the street signs is completely insane. But take a listen to this.
At the beginning of this administration, we asked every state, red and blue, to share with us their voter rolls so that we could scrub it against the DHS file of illegal aliens to remove illegal aliens from their voting rolls. Every blue state refused. California refused. Minnesota refused. New York refused. In fact, they sued us to stop us from removing illegal aliens from the voter rolls, removing non-citizens from the voter rolls. But that's not just the only thing. They don't want to get dead people off the rolls. They don't want to get felons off the rolls. They don't want to get out-of-state voters off the rolls. They don't want to get double and triple voters out of the count because they want the fraud. This is the most important issue, Sean, because the Biden administration brought 20 million illegal aliens into this country, and this is the way, the only way, to keep them from participating in our sacred democratic process.
Right. So the voter rolls are a very big deal. I also had on the great Seth Keshel, who's a great book out about our election system and how to fix it. He says voter rolls are number one, as you saw with the clips of James O'Keefe and Savannah Hernandez. All over L.A., they're just giving out, registrations, giving out money for registrations. It's all criminality. And speaking of criminality, in my opinion, there has been very few people who have risen to the level of, in my opinion, harming the justice system and the way our country functions in terms of intelligence, surveillance, and weaponization. And that would be Robert Mueller, who passed away this past weekend at 86. I want to remind you, a lot of people have come out about Robert Mueller and talked about his background. The first thing I want to say is Mike Benz is reminding us Robert Mueller's background in terms of BCCI. If you remember, that's the money laundering bank where Osama bin Laden held multiple accounts, and it was tied to the Bushes and everyone else and got shut down. And I've done shows about it with multiple people, including Catherine Austin Fitts, who investigated it back then. It was a CIA-linked bank that was essentially running a money laundering scheme for the CIA and black ops and all over the country and world. And frankly, Bob Mueller ran the cover-up for BCCI. Oddly enough, last week, Headline News said that for the first time in 10 years, there was a docket opened in federal court regarding the BCCI case that has been dormant for 10 years. And remember, obviously, Jeffrey Epstein had something to do with BCCI and that trafficking operation, so we will see what happens there. But remember, Mueller ran the cover-up for BCCI, as far as we can all tell. And then what happened? He ran from 1998 to 2001, NorCal DOJ, while 4 9/11 hijackers were active in Northern California, okay? And we know that, and they were being watched and all of that. Well, what also happened? Robert Mueller, 4 days after 9/11, was transferred to be the head of the FBI for the nation in the wake of 9/11. This is one of many, many things that we know. There's also 28 pages that show 2 9/11 hijackers tied to Saudi intelligence rented a room from an FBI informant in California before the 2001 attacks. Again, the director of the FBI in California at the time was Robert Mueller. And it goes on, as you know, and I brought up last night, 19 families of the purported 19 victims of Sammy the Bull Gravano were screwed by Robert Mueller, who gave Sammy immunity, total immunity, to get one man, John Gotti, because Robert Mueller did not want to be embarrassed. And 19 families blamed Robert Mueller even more than Sammy for not getting justice in the case of their loved ones, including a good family friend of mine, Joey Colucci, who was Sammy's first victim and apparently one of his best friends. And his son and his family have suffered every day since, as have the other 19 families. that were denied justice because of Robert Mueller making a deal with the devil for one conviction that he could not have. As we also know, Robert Mueller, when he left the fake Russia delusion special counsel, he got jobs. He went to teach about. He taught a course at universities about Russiagate. I am going to remind you right now of the truth about the Mueller investigation. Here we go. Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman ran a 2-year, $100 million taxpayer-funded investigation with 50 FBI and DOJ agents. They gave fodder to the news and Adam Schiff and Rachel Maddow and Haberman and Rubin and all of them every night. Norm Eisen and Weissman and Elias, all the usual suspects in lawfare on TV every night accusing Trump of stuff. Not only did Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman know that Donald Trump was not guilty of anything they were investigating, but they also knew that they created it and that Clapper, Brennan, Comey, and the rest of them, Strzok, Page, that they created it after they took the original information that was totally fraudulent and phony, that was paid for and bought and concocted by Hillary Clinton and her campaign, including Mark Elias and John Podesta. They got caught, and instead, Obama and Clapper and Comey and Mueller and all the rest of them, they decided to use that fake information that Hillary Clinton concocted with Soros and other helpers and Christopher Steele. They used that with the CIA, MI6, and all the rest of them to have a global coup to overthrow the duly elected president of the United States of America in 2016. And then when they could not overthrow him and he won the election, they decided to triple down and create a fake Russia collusion investigation known as the Weissman-Mueller Special Counsel. And CIA Barr and CIA Pompeo and their collaborator, CIA Gina Haspel in the London office with Kohler, the FBI head in the London office, worked with MI6, Christopher Steele, Dialev, Halper, and a whole bunch of people in the Five Eyes community to coordinate the destruction of the first term of the duly elected president of the United States and kick off a color revolution that we are still in to this day. I will play Rush Limbaugh's take on Robert Mueller and the Russia hoax. And I will always miss his voice and his reason out there. And that's a lot of the reason I do this show is because of Rush Limbaugh and my dad playing his show in the car for me from before I even remember till the day I graduated from high school. So please listen to Rush Limbaugh's take on Robert Mueller.
We have been lied to ourselves. We have been misled. We have been misdirected by a willing accomplice drive-by media working with Robert Mueller and his staff of anti-Trump lawyers and the entire Democrat Party combined with the Washington establishment to create in the minds of the American people a story that didn't happen, couldn't happen, nobody can ever prove did happen. Where is the tampering of votes? Where is the meetings? Where is the strategy? Where is the evidence that Trump got together with Russians to sabotage the Hillary campaign? Which is what everybody has been led to believe happened here. Robert Mueller has nothing because there is nothing on what everybody in this country has been misled to believe for the past 2 years. We have been lied.
I wish it was the past 2 years. We are still waiting for justice. It is 8 years. I'd like to remind you of exactly what went down with Robert Mueller when he clearly knew nothing about what his team was investigating. I also want you to know that Andrew Weissman is out there crying about James Comey being subpoenaed to the grand jury. Andrew Weissman is the person who should be held accountable for the entire fraud of 2 years and $100 million of taxpayer money that went into a fraudulent investigation into something everyone on Weissman's team knew was a lie. They concocted it, they took it from the inside, and nobody investigated them. And then of course, CIA Bill Barr then, of course, had Durham come in to investigate everything but the Weissman-Mueller team in the DOJ, in the FBI, because they were protecting their own, the agencies and the people involved. And what we need to know right now is that Weissman, Norm Eisen, Mark Elias, Mary McCord, all the lawfare crew that have been running the upside-down color revolution, inverted law and order, and justice, fighting for democracy against authoritarianism, were 100% involved in every step of this, and they are still out there wreaking havoc on our country. But please remind yourself of Robert Mueller and what he did to this nation purposefully, because Rosenstein, Mueller, Clapper, Comey, Rice, Power, every single one of them. Rosenstein should be brought back. I hope he's brought down there. But frankly, all of these people lied to the entire country and the world because they did not want Donald Trump changing directions of the foreign policy that they had put in place after World War II that was tripled down on by Barack Obama when he had Brzezinski back in there with Kissinger and what's her name, Madeleine Albright, going straight into their plan for World War III to set up Ukraine, all of the things that they did, overthrowing the duly elected government of Ukraine in 2014, working with George Soros on the ground with National Endowment for Democracy and CIA to set up Ukraine for World War III against Russia on the European continent, which right now Donald Trump is trying to fight against happening. But take a listen. Here you go.
Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, in explaining that special counsel did not make what you called a traditional prosecution or declination decision, the report on the bottom of page 2 of volume 2 reads as follows. The evidence we obtained about the president's actions and intent presents difficult issues that prevent us from conclusively determining that no criminal conduct occurred. Accordingly, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. Now, I read that correctly?
Yes.
All right. Now, your report, and today you said at all times the special counsel team operated under, was guided by, and followed Justice Department policies and principles. So, which DOJ policy or principle sets forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined?
Can you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah. Which DOJ policy or principle set forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined? Where does that language come from, Director? Where is the DOJ policy that says that? Let me make it easier.
Go ahead.
Can you give me an example other than Donald Trump where the Justice Department determined that an investigated person was not exonerated because their innocence was not conclusively determined?
I cannot, but this is a unique situation.
Okay, well, you can't. Time is short. I've got 5 minutes. Let's just leave it at you can't find it because I'll tell you why. It doesn't exist. The special counsel's job, nowhere does it say that you were to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence or that the special counsel report should determine whether or not to exonerate him. It's not in any of the documents. It's not in your appointment order. It's not in the special counsel regulations. It's not in the OLC opinions. It's not in the Justice Manual. And it's not in the principles of federal prosecution. Nowhere do those words appear together because respectfully, Director, it was not the special counsel's job to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence or to exonerate him, because the bedrock principle of our justice system is a presumption of innocence.
Right.
It exists for everyone. Everyone is entitled to it, including sitting presidents.
So he said it was an extraordinary situation. That's what James Comey said. That's what Susan Rice said. That's what every single one of them said, because they believe Donald Trump to be an existential threat to their plans for the world in the future and the Agenda 2030 and the Third World War that was planned at the end of the Second World War and then kicked off after the fall of the USSR with Soros and CIA and everyone on the ground in Europe preparing for it in Ukraine for decades until, of course, Barack Obama overthrew the Russian-leaning president of Ukraine, because that wasn't going to work out either, and they started taking over elections all over the EU. And at this point, they got back on track the minute they put in the auto pen and cheated in the 2020 election, and all of them justified it because they believed Trump was an existential threat to their foreign policy and to the supranational architecture that they had created after World War II that is lied to, looted, and stolen from the American people, our children, our treasure, and our future in every way they could. And you know what? They all did not want changing direction. They were all in on it, trillions of dollars invested, and Donald Trump winning was just unacceptable. So it was an extraordinary situation that Mueller and Weissman and all of the people, including Pompeo.
Comey's higher purpose.
Yeah, Comey's higher purpose, the steady state saying he was an existential threat. He was an existential threat to their foreign policy that started with this Project for a New American Century. That was Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld and all of these people. They have not changed, and too many of them are dead to pay the price. But go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say, it's really important that we continually remind ourselves that this perversion of justice, the judicial system, and the way that accountability is measured, is part of the the Marxist communist revolution. It's part of the globalist plan to destabilize, the entire fabric of society, because that's one of the main pillars, particularly in our country, that has made us as successful as they are, because we were a country that actually, people could do business here and they could kind of depend on the courts. That has seemed to have gone away.
Yeah, and I want to remind you again, Mueller was the central figure in the 9/11 cover-up, according to the victims' families, as well as he prevented the FBI agents from testifying in support of Tony Schaefer's testimony regarding Able Danger and the fact that they had discovered 2 of the 3 al-Qaeda cells that conducted the attack in advance of the attack. Then Mueller used the FBI to try to destroy Congressman Kurt Weldon, who desperately wanted to get the truth about 9/11. Again, they created false allegations against him, raided his campaign headquarters just before the November 2006 election, in which he would have won. Again, that was Mueller. Mueller was also involved in shutting down all the investigations into the Clintons, not just the Clinton Foundation, but also many other things along the way. Not to mention that Mueller was the key person involved in Uranium One, of which Hillary Clinton has still not been held accountable, among many other things. So where we are now is the grand jury is investigating the real Russia collusion conspiracy, and it will lead, of course, back to every single person I just mentioned, and the waste of U.S. taxpayer money in order to fund a color revolution and a coup against the people of the United States of America, who realize that our foreign policy and endless wars for profit and the Cold War, the war on terror, the globalist expansion of climate change, that all of it was a fraud set up to loot, launder, lie to, and deceive the American people for decades. And hopefully we will come to a conclusion here that exposes all of this. As you know, I have a new book coming out called Infiltration Instead of Invasion, America Betrayed, 1944 to 1954, in which I trace the Dulles brothers' recreation of the State Department, along with the CIA and all of the tentacles of USAID, National Endowment for Democracy, and many other, to create a supranational infrastructure that really was never working for the United States of America, and nor were their intelligence agencies. They were working to protect the supranational global public-private partnership, international banking cartel, endless war for profit model that they started before World War I and continued to continue to work on for 100 years. Of course, the big one was, of course, the United Nations, and then giving themselves immunity and 76 tentacles of the United Nations immunity. But then they created, the Bank of International Settlements, IMF, World Bank, and gave themselves absolute immunity, including 63 banks connected to them, including our Fed. So this architecture, this supranational infrastructure, this global intelligence group of CIA, MI6, and I believe other international spy agencies is actually all working for supranational entities that gave themselves immunity that they still enjoy. And hopefully this is the beginning of the end. So as you know, Director James Comey was subpoenaed in the Florida grand jury investigation down in the Southern District of Florida, where Jason Quijones is working his butt off to get things going. The investigation is building on information uncovered by House and Senate committees that was long buried by the Biden auto pen administration. Don't forget, we are told that D.C., the corrupt court of Judge Boasberg, they cannot indict, it looks like, or a grand jury won't indict because all the juries in D.C. are trained by progressive NGOs to disrupt jury trials. And as we know, all the judges lied during January 6 hearings for all of those innocent victims that got thrown in jail or their lives destroyed, to go with the narrative that there was some kind of insurrection. Again, a plot to make sure that Trump and MAGA never rose again. Well, here we are. And Jason Keonis is down there, and he is basically, the evidence is appearing to show a knowing effort to manufacture the Russia conspiracy hoax at the urging of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, which included not just John Podesta and Mark Elias, but the entire DNC. And we now have evidence that the George Soros Open Society was also working with them. The Washington Post and New York Times also received Pulitzer Prize for reporting false information. And it looks like they knew it was false information about the conspiracy for 2 years, not to mention, as I said, the Weissman-Mueller investigation was entirely and completely a lie. And they subpoenaed 2,000 people that had to get lawyers, that had to pay for lawyers to defend themselves in a fraudulent special counsel investigation. And everyone knew about it. And then, of course, Durham came in, and everyone was hoping for Durham to save us. But now we found out, not only did Durham not know what was in the burn bags, but what's his name? Jake Sullivan, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager in the 2016 campaign, as you remember, and then her right-hand man in the State Department and everywhere else. And then, of course, Blinken's right-hand man in the auto pen presidency, his wife, Goodlander, was the DOJ oversight of Durham. Hello? On top of that, we also know that Rosenstein and the rest of them were involved in spying on yet another person that Durham didn't know about, it appears. Waleed Ferris, a great guy. Very good to my parents. My parents have known him for a long time. Great man. Waleed Ferris was spied on. And apparently Durham didn't know about this, or at least we never heard about it before. So now we know that the Durham team and Strzok, Page, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Obama spied on 5 innocent people, putting 2 in jail, trying to put all 5 in jail. And that was, of course, Paul Manafort, who Mueller put in solitary confinement for 23 months, from what I see. Michael Flynn, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos went to jail for 10 days. He committed no crime. He was, in fact, bumped by a scheme by Strzok and Brennan that has been proven now to create the illusion of collusion in foreign countries by targeting people that were running for office or connected to the Trump campaign. And now we know that they were also targeting and spying on Waleed Ferris. Of course, they could find nothing about Waleed Ferris, but that didn't stop them. The Mueller investigation, an extension of Crossfire Hurricane, or as you know it, Russiagate, was used by Obama-era politicians and internal government officials as a mechanism to block President Trump from executing a divergent foreign policy. The primary policy of focus was to protect the Iran deal, based on mounting evidence, a pattern that also surfaced in other international activities and U.S. participants. Biden, Ukraine, the Obama-Clinton-Kerry Iran deal included a mechanism for return payments to U.S. officials following the release of billions in frozen Iranian asset funds and loosening sanctions, otherwise known as the pallets of cash that Barack Obama sent to the Iranian regime after Donald Trump won. Qatar was the mediator, and as you know, right now, Qatar is turning on them.
It's really interesting that if you think about it in that context, basically they were trying to protect everything that was basically against the will of the people and the safety and security of our nation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's remember also, there's somebody who is yet to be mentioned that the conservative treehouse and myself firmly believe is at the root of almost all of this. And her husband also was the right hand to a very weak and very embarrassing at this point, John Roberts, the head of the Supreme Court. That would be Sheldon Snook. And I'm, of course, talking about Mary McCord, who we have not seen around. And, of course, she is the partner of Eisen and Weissman and Elias and everyone involved in destroying our legal system and turning it into a lawfare farce to destroy people where the process is the punishment, and the crimes are usually thrown out in court or in appeals because they're all based on fake novel legal theories, or as we call it, the advent of critical legal theory, which of course came with the two buddies at Harvard Law School. As you know, Eisen and Barack Obama graduated together from Harvard Law and both went to D.C. together. And Eisen obviously is the head of the color revolution model we have been under since 2016. But so is McCord. So the last refuge, i.e. conservative treehouse, reminded us this weekend that Mary McCord has a lot to answer for, and we haven't seen anything about her. Apparently, she is under the auto pen pardons, and since nobody can get the auto pen people indicted or even criminally investigated, as we know, 4 months ago, 10 people's names were put in, including Neera Tanden, who runs John Podesta's Center for American Progress now, the Donilon family, BlackRock Connected, and more, Klain, a bunch of people surrounding them. But remember, they gave pardons to the January 6th committee, and Mary McCord, it looks like, got a pardon as the advisor to the January 6th committee. But let me remind you that Mary McCord submitted the fraudulent first FISA application to spy on Trump to begin with to the very invested Judge Boasberg that started the Russia investigation into Carter Page. McCord created the Logan Act claim that was used to take down General Flynn, and then worked with Sally Yates to confront the White House about the false claim. McCord left the DOJ to be the advisor to Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler in the concoction of a fake impeachment of Donald Trump regarding Ukraine, where we had a CIA whistleblower given an anonymity as a whistleblower when it was really a CIA analyst named Eric Cimarella who worked with Vindman to create the fraud that was the Ukraine impeachment. Mary McCord organized the CIA rule change with Intelligence Community Inspector General Michael Atkinson, of which we have still not seen the redacted documents that allow for the CIA Cimarella to be called a basically a anonymous whistleblower. This has never happened in the history of whistleblowing, and certainly if the American people knew he was CIA, we would not have ever seen that impeachment happen. McCord led and organized the impeachment effort, of which Norm Eisen was the prosecutor, and it was brought by, of course, Schiff and Nadler. Mary McCord then joined the FISA court to protect against DOJ IG Michael Horowitz's newly gained National Security Division oversight and FISA review, which was not being done since Eric Holder and Obama turned the NSD, the National Security Division, against we the people of the United States. As I said, the Patriot Act was a fraud. It was sold to us after 9/11, and the only person who was right was Ron Paul. It was sold to us after 9/11 as protecting us from terrorists coming to America so that we would fight terrorists over there instead of here. But what really happened after 9/11, and certainly after Obama came in, was they opened the door wide to terrorists. That is before they opened the border in the last 4 years. But not just that, they erased, according to whistleblower Phil Haney, Obama and Holder and Jay Johnson erased all documentation and all evidence and intel after 9/11 that mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood or Islam, because they did not want the religion connected when it's not a religion. It's an ideology of totalitarian Sharia law. But all of these people were involved in all of that. So a lot to hide. So instead of, trying to protect our country, they turned the National Security Division and the Patriot Act on we the people of the United States, creating a fraud that there was a domestic terrorism problem of white Christian nationals. Very tricky, right, how they did that. So Mary McCord involved in that. Mary McCord involved in the January 6th committee. Mary McCord involved in the Fani Willis case. Mary McCord involved in the special counsel Jack Smith case and helping to prosecute Trump. Mary McCord on record advocating for new coordinated lawfare attacks against Donald Trump 6 months before he took office. Mary McCord testified that Attorney General Pam Bondi should recuse herself from investigating McCord or January 6th. Not sure why. And again, it appears that Joe Biden preemptively pardoned Mary McCord. So we're still waiting to hear what's happened with her. Yes, Rob?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Peaches62 for a very generous Rumble rant.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. They said, people have been at war with our own minds since Eve took a bite from the forbidden fruit. Didn't a man blame woman without a thought? The war is between good people too afraid to look within. I would actually also add the war continues because good people do nothing.
Yes.
And we need more good people.
People in this country that are not political and apathetic and have no idea that the midterms, if they vote straight Democrat, is being run by the Democrat Socialist of America and foreign influencers and a lot of money from outside this country that has not been stopped yet, but it will. The last thing I'm going to say about this, and we'll do a deeper dive on the entire Russia collusion case later in the week, but Svetlana Lakova, who was a victim of Mueller and this entire witch hunt, of course, they made up that she had an affair with General Flynn. She didn't. It was a lie. All of it was a lie. Everything about Flynn was a lie, and they knew it was a lie, and they destroyed his life and tried to. Thank God they didn't succeed, but they nearly did, and his family and many other people. But there's a document right here that is still classified that Svetlana continues to put out. It is a document from August 3rd, 2016. If you could jump to my screen, this document, it's Obama and Comey's comments in response to Brennan saying that Hillary Clinton approved a proposal to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. Hillary Clinton and her team, that would be Jake Sullivan, John Podesta, Mark Elias, and many other people, Gensler, who ended up running the SEC under the Autopen, many other people. If you look at this, it is still redacted. These are notes, obviously, that we need to see. So we are asking for him to redact them. The main player, I believe, at the top of this, underneath Obama, is, of course, what's his name? John Brennan. And I have to say, don't forget, John Brennan was for 12 years the CIA head under the former regime in Saudi Arabia. As the CIA head in Saudi Arabia, many people say he converted to Islam at the time. It's not proven, but that is the claim. Also, all of the hijackers that came from Saudi Arabia apparently were fast-tracked to America while he was running the CIA in Saudi Arabia. Now, Brennan also got his what's it called? The intelligence thing that you get from the FBI. Clearance. Sorry. He got his clearance revoked when Trump came in. As you know, he's under investigation. He should be for sedition and treason. Everyone knows that. But he showed up on, of course, MSNBC this weekend. Babbling on about what he thinks is a problem. And, of course, he seems panicked to me. But let's take a listen, because we will soon, I believe, see a true indictment of this man who has done so much damage to this country and, of course, was the only person who supported Barack Obama over Hillary Clinton in 2008 and is likely, because of his background in Saudi Arabia with the former prince that ran Saudi Arabia, Al-Waleed, who was very good friends with Barack Obama and John Brennan. Take a listen.
So imminence means that it's in the near term, it's on the horizon, it's coming, sooner rather than later. But there's no intelligence that I've seen coming out in any type of reporting that suggests that either from a ballistic missile standpoint or from a nuclear standpoint or even from a terrorist standpoint, that there was anything imminent that the United States really needed to go forward with this invasion of Iranian airspace and the bombing campaign. And so therefore, I think the lies are coming fast and furiously as a way to justify the rationale for the war. And there really is no rationale for it.
Okay, let's remember he lost his clearance, and there's a lot going on. So I found some things that I think are important as we hear all of the fog of war that will continue through this week. First of all, this is the current head of Saudi Arabia on 60 Minutes. Take a listen to what he has to say about Iran after Saudi Arabia, UAE, and it appears to me possibly Jordan and Qatar are going to join the United States in defeating Iran. Please take a listen to the head of Saudi Arabia.
For centuries. You've been rivals for centuries. At its heart, what is this rift about? Is it a battle for Islam?
Iran is not a rival to Saudi Arabia. Its army is not among the top 5 armies in the Muslim world. The Saudi economy is larger than the Iranian economy. Iran is far from being equal to Saudi Arabia.
But I've seen that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei the new Hitler of the Middle East?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he wants to expand. He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in Europe did not realize how dangerous Hitler was until what happened. I don't want to see the same events happening in the Middle East.
Does Saudi Arabia need nuclear weapons to counter Iran?
Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bomb. But without a doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible.
Well, that's something you won't see every day. And now it looks like there's been a statement put out by Saudi Arabia has agreed to open King Fahd Air Base in Western Saudi Arabia to the Americans. Multiple U.S. and Western officials are talking about coordinating not just with Saudi Arabia, but also with the UAE. And the attitude in Riyadh has shifted towards supporting the U.S. war as a way to punish Iran for strikes all over the Gulf states. And it looks like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar have been talking back and forth with Donald Trump and working together to figure out how to end this as soon as possible. Now, something you also won't hear, but I think is important to hear from the people in that country, and this happened to be an important part of what you are not hearing. So I just want to make sure that we get all points of view other than what you're going to see all over the internet and social media and the Trump-hating media. For 47 years, Iran has been threatening the world. They've been the biggest sponsor of terror. And, of course, Barack Obama and his friends gave them $400 million in cash and $1.5 billion that they claim they owed them from 1979, which was a fraud. But on top of that, when the auto pen came in, they gave billions and billions and billions of dollars more to different groups, including terrorist groups, but also to Iran, where Mali and other people from the Iranian regime, it appeared, had been embedded in the State Department under Anthony Blinken during the auto pen. But since nobody's being held accountable for the auto pen presidency so far, that's not out there. But take a listen to this.
I feel really confident that the world is going to finally band together to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And I think the world's going to thank President Trump, because we have been paying a terror premium on that strait for the last 50 years. This is Iran's last chance. We've seen the military attack up and down the Strait of Hormuz, taking out those batteries. We just have to get confidence by the ship owners that it's safe to go through. And now with this new coalition that President Trump got commitments from other countries saying, hey, this is your battle, too. This is your strait, too. And when the rest of the world comes together, they'll get it reopened.
Okay, so there you have it. You're not going to hear that elsewhere. I also want to remind you that Scott Bessent had something very important to say as well about what is going on in that part of the world. Yes, it does appear that they are reorganizing the post-World War II control grid that is supranational, but also the maritime situation with the Strait of Hormuz being Iran's choke point that they've used for leverage for decades. Take a listen to Scott Bessent talk about this as well.
American people, are beginning to understand, thanks to President Trump, that there is no prosperity without security.
I heard you say 50 days. Are you saying that prices could start to come down?
No.
What's the time frame?
I was just picking a point. I don't know whether it's going to be 30 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 50 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 100 days. But to have 50 years, peace in the Middle East, and know that the Iranian regime is defanged, because, Kristen, what we had before was the illusion of security. Imagine this regime, if they had had another year or 2 years to build out their missile capabilities, they would have built a shield around themselves, and it would have been impossible to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon.
All right.
The American people.
So we have to have faith that this is not new, and we can see that. But here on CNN, this guy blew this fraud's mind over at CNN. They should be so ashamed of themselves. But take a listen to an actual journalist from Iran. Go on CNN, invited on CNN. Take a listen.
Right now is Hosroy Isfahani. He's an Iranian exile who was born and raised in Iran, worked as a journalist with the BBC. He is also the research director for the National Union for Democracy in Iran. Hosroy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
One thing on the heels of that amazing report from tomorrow, we also had a new message. The Iranian public today got a new second purported message from the new supreme leader. But yet again, he's not seen or heard, no audio, no video, not even a credible still image has really been put out. What does this tell you?
Two things. One, about this new supreme leader, Mujtaba. We are dealing with an impotent young cleric who has the charisma of a boiled potato. He is the first AI-generated supreme leader that the world has seen to itself. All the footage that state media in Iran is putting out about this man either are dated, are old photos of him, or are literally AI generated. That's the man that we are dealing with. He has zero political backing, zero political history. He has achieved nothing in his life. That's Mujtaba. Let's put him aside and get back to the actual question, what the regime is doing with these missile bases, reconstructing them. We are dealing with a death cult that forces children to pledge allegiance to a supreme leader, makes them to pledge the life of their parents. A couple of years ago, this song was made into a whole anthem by the Islamic Republic, Salute Commander, in which children were pledging the lives of their parents to the supreme leader, saying we are going to sacrifice the lives of our mothers and fathers for the supreme leader. That's the system that we are dealing with. Anything other than total obliteration or total surrender is going to be a missed opportunity in face of such a regime. And Iranians know that firsthand. I lived in that country for 3 decades. I have fought that regime for 17 years. I have watched this regime kill tens of thousands of people in my motherland. We know what this regime is about. There is one option: absolute obliteration or total surrender. Anything in between, the regime will survive, rebuild its capabilities, and strike against the Iranian people and the world.
You know, Israel today announced that it killed another top leader in Iran.
You can't make it up. Why not listen to the Iranians? In the meantime, allies are rallying around the concept. They're finally getting it. But honestly, Mark Rutte of NATO has from the beginning that Strait of Hormuz has been used for decades under the and you know, Netanyahu's been saying for 30 years they're on the cusp of getting a nuclear weapon or whatever. The bottom line is it has been rogue. The truth about our history is phony to begin with, because the CIA was very involved in overthrowing them, not to mention the horrible foreign policy of both Carter and Obama under the very dastardly, in my opinion, dangerous Trilateral Commission head Zig Brzezinski. But Mark Rutte has come out and said that 22 countries are coming together to make sure the Strait of Hormuz is free and safe. This includes multiple NATO allies, and Mark Rutte has said himself that the Strait of Hormuz is much more important, obviously, for the EU than for the United States of America, and they will be joining him. I also, before we go, I want to say the world is waking up, and congratulations to the tried-to-ban leader over there in the EU, the AfD party in Germany. It looks like they have had a successful run and expanded their influence, though the EU and Samantha Power and USAID and everyone trying to bring down Orban has been working against them. Take a listen to her, and congratulations to the freedom fighters of the Make Germany Great Again movement that is gaining ground, thank God, even though they have tried to ban them. Take a listen.
But this time, the danger does not come from without, it comes from within. It has been rising from the globalist elites in Brussels and in too many European capitals, and precisely because it wears a mask of benevolence, it is so diabolically dangerous. They flood our countries with illegal mass migration. They force our own people to feed house and privilege these masses, while crime explodes, terrorism stalks our streets, and Islamic extremism takes root. And in doing so, they steal the very soul of our European nations. But this time, the danger...
And there you have it. So this is the reaction to her win this past weekend in Germany. Take a
muss ich sagen, das ist der 18 Uhr Jubel um den Spitzenkandidaten Jan Bollinger, der da im Konfettiregen untergeht, und Glückwünsche von Frau Weidel, wenn ich das richtig sehe, und Herrn Kupala
So she has prevailed in Germany to expand despite all of the attacks. Now also Marine Le Pen, also under attack by the EU, just like Orban and anyone that is siding with freedom and liberty and national sovereignty over the supranational global public-private partnership international banking cartel controlled EU. So it looks like Marine Le Pen, right-wing National Rally Party, has won the left-wing district in the municipal elections in France for the first time. This is ending the socialist stronghold since 1989. Congratulations to her. And Orban is on the run. I'm going to leave you today with the great Eva speaking about Hungary and the world. She is one of the bravest people on the planet. And I'll just leave you with a little bit of her talking about the upcoming Hungarian election. Let's hope that the end of the EU and their plans for World War III to consolidate yet again, that destroy Russia, consolidate Europe, the same Third Reich plan in the fourth phase, that would, of course, lead to the ending of consolidation into Agenda 2030. Well, it looks like it's being thwarted, and God willing, the nations that are right now captured by what I consider to be the Fourth Reich, known as the EU, which is really controlled by the international banking cartel and their endless war for profit model since World War I. There's a breakthrough, so take a listen. This is CPAC this past week in Hungary.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, Barataim. I practiced that 5 times backstage. Don't know if it went well. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. CPAC Hungary is undoubtedly the most important political event of the year, not just for me personally, but for every single patriot everywhere in Europe. This year, however, is even more important. Your elections are around the corner, and they will indeed be decisive, not just for the future of Hungary, but for the future of Europe as a whole. This is the case not just because of what you stand for, but also in whose way you are standing. Because Hungary, under Prime Minister Orban, is the only country in Europe, and I repeat, the only country, that is truly standing in the way of the European Union's efforts to destroy our beautiful continent. So for that, I would like to thank you, the Hungarian people, and I would personally like to thank your Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, for everything that he's done for us. If it weren't for you, and I genuinely believe this, Ukraine would already be a member state of the European Union. We would be part of a federalized Europe, and the replacement of Europeans with third worlders would be next to complete. Nothing is off limits anymore, as we have seen for the EU-Ukraine bunch. Political blackmail, an oil blockade, trucks full of cash money being driven over the borders. And now, Zelensky threatening your Prime Minister with physical harm. Despite all of it, Orban continues to put the interests of the Hungarian people first.
And there you have it, folks. The world is changing. Nothing can stop what is coming. And whatever you think of Donald Trump, or you think of MAGA, or you think of what's gone on over the last 10 years, you ain't heard nothing yet, because I fully believe that we will get the truth out there. And it is unfortunate that Mueller is not going to be here to be held accountable, but there are many other people that will. I finally believe that we will see some forward motion. I'm sorry I've gone long, but there was one last thing I wanted to leave you on before we take our break from today, because a lot of people are wondering, why isn't accountability coming? Well, I believe not only is accountability coming, but it's coming exactly the way that I had hoped. Please take a listen to, and I will leave you after this, really. This is a worldwide crackdown, I believe, on NGOs that have undermined the nations, including our own, all over the world, not to mention National Endowment for Democracy, USAID, and the rest of them, but many others. The best way for us to clean up our nation is to get foreign money and money laundering and NGOs and 501c3s and PACs and, God willing, lobbying out of our country, and to financially hold people accountable and stop the money flow that is destroying us from within. And I will leave you on Scott Bessent. We'll come back for 1 second, and then I will see you tomorrow. Take a listen.
This morning, I met with several financial institutions and made clear we must do more to safeguard our nation from waste, fraud, and abuse. The time has come for accountability. President Trump wants accountability. I want accountability. The American people want accountability, and they will get accountability. That is why I'm announcing several initiatives Treasury is taking to target fraud here in Minnesota. And the Minnesota protocols will serve as a genesis and a launching pad for investigations into other states. First, we have followed the money and identified the money service businesses that may have transferred taxpayer funds overseas. Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification to these businesses that they are under investigation. These businesses had an obligation to comply with anti-money laundering laws, and they will be held responsible for any crimes they committed. FinCEN has also issued a geographic targeting order for Hennepin and Ramsey counties that require banks and money transmitters to report additional information about funds transferred outside of the United States. This will put a microscope on these businesses, advance prosecutions, and assist in the recovery of funds laundered internationally. Fraudsters in Minnesota stole at least $300 million meant for children in need, and we must prevent fraud of this scale from occurring in the future. Accordingly, FinCEN today issued an alert to financial institutions that will help them identify and report specific warning signs of fraud in federal child nutrition programs. Fraud must be stamped out early, and this alert will help law enforcement do just that. Our investigators at IRS-CI have played a critical role in uncovering fraud, and the role of the IRS in these investigations will continue. I am pleased to announce that IRS Civil Enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announce the formation of a task force to investigate any fraud and abuse involving pandemic-era tax incentives and misuse of 501c3 tax-exempt status by entities implicated in the Minnesota-based social services fraud schemes. We are committed to preventing fraud and fraudulent nonprofits from taking advantage of the American taxpayer. Lastly, Treasury is providing training to Minnesota law enforcement on how to utilize financial data, such as suspicious activity reports, to better combat these fraud schemes. We will not let the incompetence and recalcitrance of Governor Walz stop law enforcement from holding these perpetrators accountable. President Trump is dedicated to ensuring honest Minnesotans are not cheated and their hard-earned tax dollars are not being abused. Treasury will deploy all tools to bring an end to this egregious, unchecked fraud and hold perpetrators to account. We look forward to sharing our findings and keeping you all updated. Earlier this morning,
Go get 'em, folks.
So let's see what happens, folks. I would say, as I've been saying since the beginning of this term of Trump, follow the money. You will find the criminals, the Epstein files, the J.P. Morgan files, the NGO files, the Soros, the Clinton. Follow the money. You will find the criminals. And we can finally put some of these people away, freeze their accounts, get money repatriated into America, and stop meddling in elections and things all over the nation. Stop the CIA, BCCI, tradition of black ops and black money and trafficking of children and guns and weapons and drugs by our own intelligence and other agencies that just profit them. It's going to stop, and its first stop will be Scott Bessent running both the IRS and Treasury and using all the tools at his disposal to follow the money and find it and stop it. And that is the beginning, I believe, of accountability. We will see, and we will also see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Make sure you tune in to Mel K in the mornings at 12 Eastern every single day. We are doing a daily news show that'll keep you up to date with the things you're not getting anywhere else. The Mel K in the morning show is your place to get morning news daily.
Whispers of freedom loud in the night. Anonymous fighters ready to ignite. They hack the code, crack the chains. Endless courage runs through their veins. Dancing in the digital light they go. For justice and truth their actions flow. Riding on the waves of bytes and bits. Anonymous Americans never quit. With every click they defy the lies. Fighting for freedom under moonlit skies. Mask on screens but hearts are clear.